About a week ago, I made a live stream about this topic that we're going to get into, about what is now becoming the great passport debate. And if you guys have been living under a rock, it's simple. The great passport debate is essentially, I guess, the new topic on YouTube. You always have one of these guys who set it off. They'll say something. I swear, at this point, a lot of these guys are saying something just so that down the line, they could use an argument of, hey, look, I was the one who set up the great passport debate as some sort of justification to get into the Manosphere Hall of Fame. I honestly think that's what these guys are doing it for at this point. But regardless, it's a good debate that needs to be had on both sides of the fence because both sides are making good points. Now, on one side, let's tackle what a lot of you consider the adversarial side, and that are the anti-passport guys, the guys who think that if you need a passport to get women, then you must be a fill in the blank. Now, do you have some guys out here who couldn't make it if their lives depended on it in the States, who essentially use the options that they have in order to get what they desire? Yes, you do. Let's cut to the chase. That is true, but the debate really lies with how much. What's the percentage? And I'll submit to you that the percentages of guys who can't get any here, but for some reason find love elsewhere, those numbers are small. And it's for this one very reason. The guys who are capable of going overseas, particularly on a consistent basis, I'm not talking about once every 5 years or whatever, or even once a year. I'm talking about guys who can do this at the very least, I would say 3 times a year. The guys who are able to go overseas frequently and do whatever it is they want, whether it's exploring the culture, exploring the food, or exploring the women, a lot of these guys, in one way or another, are proven in the States. If not by looks, then by money. And I know this isn't true for all guys who have money, especially with the debates of the educated you-know-what and the Silicon Valley stereotype of the nerd with no social awareness, but guys who have money usually either do or have the capability to be an alpha male within their surroundings, within the United States. See, a lot of these guys out here who are talking about, man, I ain't done nothing with the community. I didn't pull anything with the dagger, which if you aren't a Pookie and Ray Ray, no one is, don't worry about it. But I ain't pulling anything with the Beckys or the Marisols or the Mylins. Well, and don't feel bad neither because most of them here are going after white guys anyway. But I couldn't pull anything in America. But man, when I went to outside the country, man, those ladies were nice to me. They were so nice though. They was looking in my eyes and telling me that I'm retarded. No. No. Shout out to all you who can get that reference, but they was looking into my eyes and telling me how much of a kings I is, because we's kings. Look, the stereotypical borderline incel who travels overseas and claims that he's landed on gold, that is a stereotype. Granted, there are probably guys who exist like that above the 10% mark. It's in the double digits, I'll give you that. But, yeah, we gotta call these guys out. I'm not gonna lie. We gotta call these guys out. I'm sorry. No, we can't be nice. We cannot be nice because if we, as thinking men, especially thinking black men, are to be taken with some credibility, then we're going to have to call out those who just don't have it all the way up there. They just don't. I'm sorry. Some of these guys would be incels if they stayed here. Some of these guys have no other choice but to travel outside the country. And some of these guys, they need a lot of help. They're going to need a lot of intervention from a lot of thinking men. a lot of men with different expertise, one when it comes to socializing, one when it comes to dress, one when it comes to speech patterns, one when it comes to how you walk, how you talk, the other when it comes to knowing what to talk about, the other when it comes to, when to shave, when to shower, and when to use the lotion versus when not to. One guy to tell him when to leave the stoop and when to stay on it. Yeah, there are times when you stay on the stoop. But yeah, some of these guys they need the intervention of a lifetime, the intervention of the community of thinking men, regardless of race. Now, with that being stated, I gotta criticize the other side of the argument, which are the guys who are so adamantly against men who travel abroad. Now, even with these guys who probably can't get any in the States, does it mean they don't deserve to travel outside to find what they're looking for, particularly if they're fighting it? No. They deserve happiness as much as the next person, as long as they aren't interfering with anybody else's right. Which leads me over to the guys who insist that traveling is for suckers and for losers and for incels and for people who indulge in heinous acts. Now, we saw one individual here who claimed that most of the brothers, he said a lot, so basically it means most of them who travel overseas basically indulge in some of the most heinous acts that you can do. Since he was called out on it, mainly for having no evidence, he is showing his hand on stating how a lot of these guys who travel are just plain incels. They can't get any here, they can't get any from the community, they aren't willing to either floss and dumb themselves down to be a Pookie and Ray Ray, or are willing to simp for single mothers, or be just an excuser of daggle them in the communitized BS, or even the feminist waggling that you see increasingly happen outside the community. No, you have these individuals here who are pointing the finger at everyone else but themselves. And from my observations, all this is essentially a big ass cry of wanting to admit, but due to pride they can't, but wanting to admit that they themselves can't indulge in the joys of traveling for multiple reasons, whether it's because they're cuffed up with a daggle or even the non-daggle spouse, whether it's because their finances aren't looking too good right now, whether it's because they can't get a passport themselves, or maybe it's just because stoop kid's afraid to leave the stoop. You see, a lot of these individuals won't admit to reasons why they go adamantly after those who indulge something that makes them happy, regardless if they can get something in the States or not. That is an irrelevant argument point. Yes, a small amount of these guys who do this reek incels, and we gotta call them out. But at the same time, I don't want to say it's our duty, but it should be under heavy consideration that we make sure these are the kind of guys that can get just as much quality here as they can overseas. That alone will strengthen the credibility of the pro-passport carrying, thinking men. That's my main reason. I mean, look, if you're going to represent guys who travel overseas, you better be the kind of guy who can get some over here. Even if it's not as much as it is overseas, because obviously the dating market outside the United States and outside the West is less rigged than it is here. But you got to get something. You don't need to be Bama or Clemson, but at least be LSU or Washington. I mean, football's coming up. Yeah, I'm using football terminology again. You don't have to be the Patriots or the Steelers, but at the very least, be the Saints or the Chargers. At the very least. You don't have to be number one, but make sure you have a ranking or something. And that is something that I do advocate, which actually goes to other individuals who don't mind seeing brothers travel, but want to make brothers and people in general aware that, yeah, you can travel all you want, but if you bring her back home, then she's going to realize that you may not be as much of an alpha as you claim to be, or you can get away with claiming to be overseas. And that is something that we need to address. Certain guys who travel, they just don't have it here. But is it their fault? Is it for us to say, really? But the point is this. Both sides have an argument, believe it or not. I see where the value of both sides come in. And I know you guys are surprised I'm not taking an adamant stance for the pro-traveling guys. Well, to be honest, I am defending the pro-traveling guys in the end. If you don't have a myopic view, you guys can see that I'm a defender of the pro-traveling guys. I'm just saying to improve the guys who may not have it all in America, who may not have all the tools that they need in America, mainly for the reason of not giving a lot of the anti-traveling guys any sort of ammo whatsoever. That is the reason why I emphasize, as I said, going back to the self-improvement piece, be your best here, do your best to join the elite here, make sure that whatever it is or whatever issues you have in the States gets resolved before you even think about going overseas. That is my ultimate argument to this. And as anticlimactic as it is, to be honest, a lot of the other guys who are arguing against going overseas, I'm just going to say this. Just stop the penis monitoring. Seriously, just to stop the penis monitoring. We know what some of you guys were made of, and it's not that much. A lot of you guys who talk about, man, you going overseas? You going overseas? You think you're gonna get your dream girl? No, I gotta deal with the daggle, man. I gotta sit around and deal with her. And her talking shit about me to her mama every other weekend. Man, I ain't got time for this, man. I can't leave. I got these curtains, and I gotta deal with her girls and them and her family coming up here every other weekend when she hosts them for a cookout or Sunday dinner and looking at me and cooking my ass, and all I can do is just sit around and pout and have a scrunched up face looking like this while I get cooked by her pro-wag family and friends and her B1 family and friends and her colorist B1 and friends and her Daggle B1 and friends and her Pookie B1 and friends. Yeah, she got some Pookie B1 and friends. I'm watching those Pookie B1s though. Even though I was talking trash on behalf of the community against black men traveling, those Pookies B1s, they can't stand me as much as they can't stand those lames traveling. I got all of that stuff. I got this mediocre life of mine. And yeah, I'm going to see guys who are just as lame as me, or even more lamer, going overseas and getting better bitches. Oh, hold on. Oh, I didn't know. My ass just got called by somebody. Oh, wait, that was her mama telling me that I need to treat the dagger well. And what was that? Oh, go after these thinking men who are looking for an alternative? Oh, all right, mom. All right, mom. I ain't trying to make your daughter mad, though. Yeah, I know. She hasn't given me any in about 5 weeks. But she's been out of the house every Friday, Saturday, and Thursday night. Yeah, she's been going to the club and then she going. I don't know, man. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. I ain't gotta know, though. I ain't gotta know. That's exactly what these guys are on. So for all you guys out there who want to travel, I'm on your side. You have an ally. You have an advocate. And regardless of how a bit off you are, especially if you're on point, I will defend your right to travel to the ends of the internet. And everyone else out there, always bet on X.